Hey everybody, happy Monday. Hope you guys are all having a really great night and weekend. It's been a little while since I have done a live feed, and man, there's a lot going on in the world, isn't there? There's a lot. Um, I used to do these like recorded talks. I started doing them in 2013. I'm not much of a techie, so it's been recent that I've gotten into YouTube or to Facebook and all these different things. But I would record these different stories and these different thoughts that I would have on my phone, talking about notes and things like that, and all the different things that are happening right now with Harvey Weinstein and things that are coming out of Hollywood. People talking about things that I never thought in public people would really give weight to are happening. And it's really awesome to see. It's really great to see. I do want to preface, we're going to do something different tonight where tonight I'm going to talk a little bit for a few moments to preface what I'm going to do with the Harvey Weinstein thing. And then I'm going to just play on my laptop something that I talked about over a year ago involving this kind of thing, and some other thoughts that I had that I think are pretty relevant. But I do want to intro this video with saying that I am so proud of so many people that are willing to speak up and talk about what they've experienced. I will say this though, with Harvey Weinstein, there's a reason why he's being outed by Hollywood. It's not because he's the singular bad guy. He is someone who has known the game, who has played the game for a long time, but the only reason Hollywood is giving him up to be a sacrificial lamb is because in the last year or so, there has been so much talk about what's really going on in Hollywood on the deeper levels that Hollywood knows they need to give somebody up. And the reason why they chose Harvey Weinstein is not because he's the ultimate bad guy. I mean, he's like, dude 101 for what happens. And there are plenty more people, including the ones that are trying to out him, that have been involved in this game. But the reason why, okay, anytime you want to play that game, anytime you're a big player in that game, everybody always has something on you to hold against you in case you go against the grain. Hollywood is not just Hollywood. Hollywood is highly involved with the military-industrial complex. I'm not saying this from listening to too many YouTube things. I know this for a fact personally. Okay. The reason why Harvey was given up as a sacrificial lamb to appease the masses, because people have been talking about pedogate, people have been talking about the exploitation and the conundrum of Hollywood trying to be feminist, and yet it's absolutely 100% not. They're giving up Harvey Weinstein because about a year and a half ago, him and Robert De Niro came tete-a-tete, and Harvey produced a movie called Vaxxed. You have to understand that anytime one of the big players goes against the big corporate players, they're compromising themselves. Now, I'm not saying that Harvey's an angel in any way, shape, or form. He's not in any way, shape, or form. He's a perfect example of every single person that gets involved in this stuff. But the only time that Hollywood will throw you under the bus is when you go against the bigger players. And when you're going against Monsanto, when you're going against the big pharma, when you're going to go exploit other things, they're going to pull up the dirt that they have on you. And this is a perfect example right now of everyone's looking for a bad guy in Hollywood, because there's plenty of them. I can name personal names all over the place, but I quite frankly don't want to deal with a lawsuit right now. But the only reason that Rose McGowan, Angelina Jolie, and all of those folks and everyone is like throwing Harvey to the masses is because he produced the movie Vaxxed. And the movie Vaxxed is all about bringing awareness to what really goes on with Big Pharma and how it mutates people in lots of different ways. And a lot of people don't want to hear it. You got the people up above, the elites, that make a shit ton of money off of putting these things into people's bodies. And they spend tons of money to promote this stuff in order for, they use it under the guise of calling it mass safety, mass health safety. And then you have the masses on the lower end that don't want to hear it either from other people because they've already exposed themselves to it or they've exposed their children to it, and they don't want to feel like bad people. So, when one of the players, who definitely has his hands dirty in the game, decides to do something that is not going to work for the rest of everybody else, they get thrown under the bus. Rose McGowan was part of a cult when she was growing up. And, I mean, this is no disrespect to her. I say it compassionately. But Rose McGowan was part of the Children of God cult growing up. If you look into the Children of God cult, they were using children pedophilically. The Children of God cult started in the late 60s, early 70s, and it was all an offshoot through rock and roll and through the Telemetic and Aleister Crowley philosophies of believing that through ritualistically sexualizing children, you could instill goddom into them. And the genesis of genius to inspire the masses to create idols. A lot of Hollywood movie stars, rock stars, writers, filmmakers, they're the first or second generation coming out of that whole thing. It's all based on pedophilia. It is. It sucks to say it, and it's hard to hear it, but it's true. So, you know, here you have someone who's systematically been abused coming up and talking about these things. And yes, of course, Harvey Weinstein's part of it. There's no doubt about it. But there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture that's going on right now. And I really hope, you know, that you guys look a little deeper than just the idea of sexual assault, someone grabbing your boob or someone offending you. We've all experienced it. We've all experienced that, you know, and I personally have experienced every single time I try to focus on my work or my art, I get, well, I can make it happen for you if only you do such and such. You're right, Danny. Corey Feldman totally talked about it. And all of us in the masses will identify with what's going on right now with Harvey Weinstein, just simply being sexual aggravation, humiliation, inappropriate conversation, inappropriate touching, rape. But I really do want to ask everybody, to not just let it stop there. Because that's what right now Hollywood and the Luciferian left, I'm not saying the masses left, because the masses that are on the left don't understand the deeper things that are going on in the Luciferian left elite that are manipulating the conversation. Sorry, that was Stephen called. I'm going to call him back. I'll call you back, Stephen. There is a very dark thing that is leading the left right now. And I'm not political. I know some of you think that I am because I've posted things that seem to be right. What I was trying to do was to open up your minds to listening to a different perspective. And there's a reason for it. Because what's going on with the over-sexualization of people is not just trying to be offensive and attack women or attack young people. It's really cultish. So we'll leave it at that, and you guys can do your own research with it. If you do have personal questions that you, in earnest, really want to know or you really want to understand, I am more than happy to talk with you about it. I'm not here to create division with anybody, and I'm not here to fight with anybody. I've met people from all over the gamut, and I've been friends with people from all over the gamut. And I don't throw anyone under the bus, but I do believe that sometimes the enemy are ideas, not people. People are not your enemy, but ideas and beliefs that we allow into our worlds that can create major destruction for not only ourselves but each other are the enemy. And if we don't have the freedom of speech to talk those things out and really figure them out, we're lost. So with that being said, this is going to be kind of weird, but I don't know how else to do this because I am not a techie. I'm not. So what I'm going to do is let this recording from my laptop that I did about a year ago, I'm just going to let it run of what I was talking about at that point in that time. And I'm just going to focus the camera onto it. And you all can listen or not, get something from it or not, and we'll go from there. So here we go. All right. I'm going to turn this around a little bit, see if I can. I think it'll let me. Here we go. All right. And I hope that you enjoy. And I want to talk about the individual versus the collective. And it's April 5th, 2016. And I want to talk about the individual versus the collective and what's happening right now with the world and how I'm noticing people, friends, you meet somebody and you may like them or admire them for something on a superficial level that you think they have something to offer you and you like their energy, but you're really quick to jump to a conclusion that they think just like you, which is impossible. There's no way that someone can think exactly like you.
it's never going to happen. And if you only like people that are like you or think like you, the world's going to become a very small place. And that's what I'm noticing is happening very quickly, through Facebook, through social media, through all these different things, is creating this world that if you don't say things that everybody else agrees with, then you're isolated and you're lost. You don't get jobs. You don't have connections with people. You may lose a relationship. All these things. That's the ultimate censorship. That's the ultimate collective. That's the ultimate mindlessness. And when you have a country like America that you say you lift up the individual, and that how an individual thinks creates their character, which would create their success based on their own individual mind, and yet everything else around it is forcing that to be squished. What you have is ultimate communism, which means you can only collectively agree on the most base idea: sex, base thoughts, base actions, base habits, base culture. How is that supposed to vibe with individualism? Individualism, if people really believed in the concept of bringing out your highest self, which is being your own individual, there would be a respect of other people's thoughts. You wouldn't lose a friendship. You wouldn't lose a connection with somebody because they thought differently from you. You know, and that's where real truth starts coming up. When you listen to another person with compassion, not with judgment or with wanting to quickly be offended by something abstract, because at this point everyone gets offended by something abstract. It's not real. You know, someone will say something out of their heart and another person will take it as a trigger word to be offended by some strange reason. If you get offended by someone speaking their heart, there's something wrong, and that should not be valued. The people that are most threatened by their own thoughts or their own character, like if someone is really jacked up in their character, they're going to be offended by everything because they judge everything. They're living in fear. They're living in a world where everyone's out to hurt them no matter what they say. I mean, I've met people, close people, that say the most awful things to others carelessly, and yet another person randomly will say to that person who always gets offended by everything, "Oh, you're wearing a red sweater. What do you mean by that red sweater? Is that a bad thing? Are you trying to insult me?" Well, if you jump to that conclusion, that means that everything that you say to another person, you want to insult them. So if you're constantly trying to insult other people because you're insecure or you're fearful or you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, everything that someone says in a neutral way is always going to be taken as an attack. And I've been noticing that we're protecting those people. I mean, for crying out loud, the things that I've been reading and hearing and experiencing is absolutely insane. People being angry about marriage and yet at the same time fighting for equality for marriage so that anything and everything goes with it? How can you, on one side, say that marriage is completely a prison, and at the same time, those same people are saying everyone needs to be okay getting married? It doesn't make sense. Can a person care for a person, another person, outside themselves, that thinks totally different from them? Is that possible? Yes. I love many people, and when I say love, I'm not saying I feel this emotional attachment of possession, or that it needs to be sexual at all. I mean, I think the idea of love being just simply sexual is wrong. You know, when you love another person, you care about who they are as an entity, you know, and having compassion in their own journey. Everybody has a different journey. No one's walked in my shoes. I mean, very few people have walked in any kind of similar shoe than I have walked. But am I going to only like people that I think or I assume would understand where I'm coming from? And then if they align with the way I think, then they're accepted? No, I mean, that's ridiculous. I'd have 0 friends. I'd have 0 connections. I love people. I love to hear what's really going on in other people. You know, not surface stuff, not surface talk, just real talk. And I have compassion for that, you know, like, that's the honesty. They're telling me their honest truth. Now, if I were to get offended by what their journey was, that's ridiculous. Why would I personally get offended by their own journey? What they're telling me is their own personal truth of what they have experienced. Okay, let's talk about that. Now, let's talk about what I've personally experienced and my personal journey. And if there's compassion in the mix between the conversation, there can be a higher truth and understanding. And maybe we can both learn something from that. You know, seeing things from a different perspective. When someone's really talking honestly, when someone's talking some kind of bullshit, there's so many people. It was the other night, I was at Art Walk in Garfield. I'm not going to say any names, but there were a couple people that I didn't know personally before I saw them there, but I've friended them on Facebook, which is a rarity for me. I usually don't like to friend anybody on Facebook until I actually know them. But in these 2 particular situations, I had friended them on Facebook before I met them. And what they post on their Facebook page is constant aggro, stirring the pot, calling somebody else out, tearing somebody else down, looking for the worst in a situation, finding something to be against rather than being for something, and finding a twist on. They don't respect another person's heart, and when they're talking with their heart, they take what they're saying and twist it into something gnarly, so that it becomes a thing. And I don't like that, but I was interested to know them as a person, and I found this was really interesting. Within 4 minutes of talking to them in real time, in real life, they said to me, I need to get really drunk to speak my heart. And I thought to myself, you have lambasted so many people that have spoken from their heart and spoken their own truth, and you exploited them and turned and twisted their words into something that could be politically wrong or destroy their character or destroy their work life, all these things. No wonder you're fearful of speaking from your own heart, because you've never allowed another person in your world to do that without getting lambasted. I listened to what they said, and I encouraged them. I didn't criticize them for what they had done up until this point, but I did encourage them to speak from their own heart, because I feel like I've learned that when you criticize somebody, when they don't see what you see and how what they're doing is wrong, they'll just go back in their shell, and they'll be self-righteous and find a reason to explain away what they do. But if you encourage them to speak from their own heart, then being that vulnerable, which is honesty, it's being humble and being honest, and you put your butt on the line, maybe they'll start rethinking about being overly critical about somebody else when someone else is speaking from their heart and trying to exploit them. That's the truth. I mean, I look at racism, which that word means nothing to me anymore. That word means nothing. It is it's like a catch-all. People don't want to take personal responsibility, and they don't want to separate themselves from another person, and they want to protect bullshit. They'll throw that word out. And I've experienced it many, many times. That now I have zero respect for anyone that is so quick to want to call someone that they're racist, or to call someone that they're sexist, or to call a good man an abuser because he expects his woman to love him. I mean, it's gone so beyond any realm of sanity that it's really true. I mean, I go back to scripture, and it says when you don't have your feet on the rock, you fall for anything. And that's what's happening. People are falling for everything and anything that is completely destructive, because they don't want to be humble enough to understand what the truth is. And it doesn't have to be my own understanding of scriptural truth, but what I'm saying is, I don't trust anybody that can't look at themselves truthfully and go in a humble way, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, these are my vulnerabilities, and I own it. If someone can't do that, then I don't trust them. And that's on a personal level. On a public level, there's so many people that are out there influencing the world that refuse to be humble enough to say, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at. And that's okay. I'm not perfect. I don't have it all together, but I can speak my journey, and I can speak my journey in honesty, and also listen to other people that have their own journey, and we can talk not without worrying about being offended by each other, but just understanding. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. If you have a person who's always lived in a very positive situation. And good things are always happening for them because they're always in a positive situation. Innately, they have always been around people that support and love and just good things happen. That's fantastic. It's wonderful, you can listen to them. But when they meet another person that has gone through a totally different journey, I know really good people that have had every single obstacle in front of them, and people around them that sabotage them, and people around them that actually hate goodness. They hate it. They want to destroy it, and they want to destroy the beauty in that person. That person's story, that person's journey is going to be different from the person that has always had people around them that love them for who they were and encourage them to be as beautiful as possible. When those two people get together, if the person who's always had a really, really great situation judges and condemns the person for feeling bad or saying, not everybody has been in my corner, oh, you must just be cynical, or they project their own reality onto the other person, it not only destroys that person who's gone through obstacles, the person who's had a really great life, they don't listen. Now, I can't tell you how many times that I've been in a situation where I literally have $3 in my bank account, and I keep making things happen. And I try not to focus on that or say, hey, I want a sympathy card, I've had some rough stuff happen, and, I don't have my family's support, and it's really difficult, and behind closed doors, it can be a battlefield. But I'm doing this. They only see what they wanted to see, which was, Kim seems to have it all together. And Kim's this and Kim's that. How dare you complain? Because I don't have it bad, but I'm upset. And I don't feel like I have enough. So I look at Kim like she's got things together. You've got to have it all together. And they make me feel bad about things that it's just my reality. That's what's happening. And I close off. I can't tell you how many women have told me, oh, I have it just as bad as you. Are you fucking kidding me? You've got a husband who takes care of things for you, who loves you, who supports you. You've got a family who has your back. You have a great job that you're happy with, or at least it takes care of things, and you can go out to dinner, and you can have your own place, and you can do all these things. I don't have that. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but there's a difference. And to make me feel worse about, oh, I'm like you. Are you freaking kidding me? No, you're not. No, you're not. That's okay, but you're not. So just understand that there's a difference. A lot of people don't want to do that, they I don't even know if I'm being clear. What I want to be clear on is having compassion for people that put their butt on the line with absolutely zero safety net. And I'm one of those people, and I don't pride myself on this, I would love to have a husband that loved me for exactly who I was and supported and gave me a safe place where I could just be myself. I've never had that. And the men that I have dated and I have been with, they want me to raise them up, but they don't protect me. That's my journey. And no one can take that away from me, and no one can say that I'm lying. No one can say that, no one can take that away. That's the truth. And I'm searching, and I keep, every day, I keep putting one foot in front of the other and figuring it out. And still making things happen. But don't you ever fucking compare yourself. If you've got a husband who loves you, gives you a safe place, or a family who loves you and gives you a safe place, don't ever fucking compare yourself to me. You don't know. I believe in what I do, regardless of how little income it happens, whatever comes of it. I believe in what I do, and I know how to bring people together, and I know how to make good things happen. I don't know how to make a lot of money anymore. I used to. But I do know that. And I know that I walk a certain life that's different from many, many people. And I'm not saying that it's better. Maybe I am. You know what? Fuck it. Comparatively speaking, most people are so unbelievably self-centered. Yeah, it is better. Most people, they don't listen to their heart. They don't listen to their conscience. They don't think about other people. They don't think about how they could help another person, regardless of what's in it for them. I do. I always have. So, yeah, you know what? I do think that it's better. So, there's that. Can you make your reality happen regardless of the funds? Absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing that I can walk away with in this life, which, I thought this year's going to be my last year, I can at least go, you know what? Regardless of the resources and regardless of all the different things that have happened, I've made things happen. And what are those things? Well, those things are inspiring people to trust themselves, inspiring them to believe in love and faith. I'm not good at romantic love. I try really hard. I do. And I'm not real good at it because I have my own issues with trust. But I try really hard. But the idea of love in the sense of really wanting to see somebody the way that they are and accepting them the way that they are and going, okay, what are you going to bring to the table? That's good. So many people going back to individualism versus collectivism. I'm looking at the individual and trying to encourage the individual. You're not supposed to be like Katy Perry. You're not supposed to be like Lady Gaga. You're not supposed to be like Rihanna. You're not supposed to be like Beyonce. You're not supposed to be like Kanye West. You're not supposed to be like Donald Trump. You're not supposed to be like all these different characters in a book. Turn off your fucking television. Break it. I've been saying this for 10 years privately. And I hope that someday maybe these notes and these voice things will come up and people will really fucking listen. Turn off your television. Stop trying to be accepted by crazy people. Listen to your heart. Protect your body. Protect your mind. Protect your innocence. Protect your genuine entity. And be that person that you are meant to be in this world in the best sense possible. In the best sense possible. You're not supposed to be a stripper. You're not supposed to be prostituting yourself out in every single possible way that the world asks you to be, to compromise yourself, that you may get a whole bunch of money. You may get a whole bunch of attention. You may get all these superficial things that you think are important in this world, but that's not you. That's the compromise. That's what's called selling out. When you can truly speak your own mind in love and in kindness, in your best sense possible, that's freedom. That's the freedom. It's not about fitting in to an industry to make yourself money or to be able to house yourself because you think, well, I have to be something or I have to be this person in order to exist. God does not work with money. God works with abundance and being yourself in your best, highest sense. Not debasing yourself. Not tearing your body and your mind apart. That's the one thing, if it's the one thing I can say that I'm trying to do with my life, and what I'm trying to do with my art, and what I'm trying to do with friendships, and what I'm trying to do with relationships, that's the thing. You know? That's what I hold on to. There's the joy. There's the abundance. There's the life. And you know what? I really believe this. What you manifest in your mind and your spirit becomes a physical reality. And when you're being your highest self, you emanate absolute beauty. You don't gravitate towards junk food. You don't gravitate towards all these other things. Your body emanates the beauty that's inside. And the energy that from your thoughts, especially if they're really, really high, the energy that your thoughts produce from that positive agape love and compassion and truth and honesty and love just heals every part of your body, no matter how many things you go through. I've gone through so many things. I should look like a monster after all the hurts and the suffering and the disappointments and the setbacks and the losses, the pain that I've experienced, and yet I don't. And I'm not saying that to be conceited in any way, shape, or form. If anything, I say it in the most humble way possible, is that that's an example of how it really works, because no matter how many times I've gotten beat down, whether it's from my own missing the mark, or it's another person assuming something about me that's not true, and they just want to destroy me. I know what my intent is, and I know where my real heart is, and I know what the real truth is, and every single time, it's like the harder things I go through, it's almost like I get rejuvenated from it. I I say that in the most humble way possible, to say that that's an example. You know, I'm not trying to look perfect. I don't kill myself to be this. What I'm saying is that when you think toxic thoughts, you become toxic. When you think monstrous thoughts, you become the monster. When you think high, beautiful, kind, caring, compassionate, self-sacrificing things, you become that beauty. It's where your energy is set, and that's God. God was never about death. It was never about death. It was always about life. And if your thoughts and your intent and your imagination and every single action that you pick to do every single day is about life, your body will manifest a constant, youthful life. It's just natural. It will just be. When you're constantly lying to yourself and you're taking in toxic things and you're taking in toxic thoughts and you're doing toxic actions constantly and you think that that's good, you know, and you say this is the reality, this is what life is all about, well, guess what? You're going to degenerate. That doesn't mean you can't turn it around. You can turn it around at any moment. That's the biggest faith, and I know that for a fact. You can be at rock bottom. Your body can be broken. You can have crazy disease. Once you start really learning, it's learning language. It's all about language. It's all about thoughts and your words, your language. What do you have to say? Do you constantly think the negative? Do you constantly think fear-based situations? Do you constantly think negative imagination? Or do you think, well, this could happen, but you don't really believe it? You know? Like, you're kind of like, well, I want to have hope, but deep down I don't really want to believe it. Well, then, like, you're in this weird situation where, like, you're hoping that something happens, but you don't really believe it, so it doesn't really fix anything. So you're in limbo. But when you really, really believe, and you really, really get in tune with the language, it's words. The keys to the kingdom are in the right combination of words. I'm going to say that one more time, and listen very carefully. The keys to the kingdom are in the right combination of words. God spoke the word, and the word created everything, and everything was good. And you know what? Back in the day, you didn't have to earn to exist. Think about that. You just existed. Just like the birds and the fishes and all the plants, God's still speaking that truth through those different physical things, as much as we're trying to kill them through Monsanto and all these other places that are trying to destroy anything that reflects God's real nature and try to make it synthetic so that you earn it. You know that Nestle's is trying to buy 95% of the water supply in the universe so that you have to pay for it. I went to Walgreens tonight because I worked on this project. The last show that I did was called Chew on This, and I didn't put gloves on my hands. And I was just in the moment, and I was working on this computer and adding a whole bunch of gumballs to the screen, to come out of the screen to be like this wild swirl of candy, like candy bullshit, basically. All the bullshit that comes out of television and computers is mind candy. It tastes sweet for a hot second, but it destroys you. Well, I didn't put gloves on my hands, and I got all this glue all over my fingers. And I looked at my hands the night that I was supposed to have the opening, and I was so self-conscious about shaking anyone's hand, or people look at your hands, when they want to reach out, that I filed my nails down to get rid of the glue on top of my fingernails, to the point where they're so fragile, they're broken. Well, it's been a month, and they're in pretty bad shape. So I go to Walgreens, which, don't get me started on Walgreens. I go into their aisle of vitamins. Do you know that they're selling minerals and vitamins that should be naturally in the food? Well, the food doesn't have them anymore, so listen very carefully. Earning. You want to talk about Luciferian living. Whereas you could have free food that you plant in the ground that naturally has these vitamins and these minerals. You don't have to pay for them. That's God. You have a seed, and you put it in the ground, and you water it, and it comes up, and you eat it, and it gives you all the minerals and the nutrients and the vitamins that you need to sustain life, to keep your youthfulness, to keep your entity. Well, with this kind of world that we're in right now, they've taken away any kind of concept of nutrition in the food. And then they try to sell you back the nutrition that's going to keep you alive at top dollar. I'm walking down the aisle of the vitamins. Vitamin C is $16 for 100 vitamins. Vitamin B complex, $20 the container. All these different things, and yet you think about how much living costs. How many people are really walking down these aisles and spending this kind of money on the vital nutrients that they need for their life? I tried to find the best value that I could. I needed biotin because I need my nails to grow again and to be healthy. And I found 100 tablets for $10. And I got that. But if you can follow me for a minute and really take that concept and expand it, that's what's happening in our world right now. You have to earn and you have to pay top dollar for the basic necessities of life. That's not God. That's completely Luciferian. And that's death. It's a death cult. So, I really hope someday if someone listens to this, that they understand that there once was a world that the soil was good. Apparently the first fall was us. The first fall of man was falling into physicality, falling into the third dimension. We became physical. Apparently we weren't necessarily physical. We were more spiritual. The first fall of man was falling into the third dimension, where you had to eat, and most of the time people really don't actually, but we think we do. And then the lower fall is falling into this entrapment of thinking the physical world is the only world, and that death is inevitable, and that's not true. That's not true. There is life, and life exists, and life is timeless, and that's God. That's the real God. Anything else is bullshit. And I really wish that everyone would break their television. And I really wish everyone would break their computer. And they'd really just listen to their own heart and really, really, really get rid of all the junk that just tears them apart and destroys them. Get rid of it and listen to the good stuff. And you know, if we would do that and be humble enough to know that we have to do it, it would change everything. It's April 5th, 2016, and versus the collective, and what's happening right now with the world, and how I'm noticing people, friends, you know, you meet somebody, and you may like them or admire them for something on a superficial